we might have found Coinbase's dirty secret that explained why the Bitcoin price has been very lackluster. GameStop just quietly filed an SEC disclosure this week, and inside it was leaked that they gave Coinbase permission to rehypothecate their entire stack. That's right. They are using their $350 million of Bitcoin to engage in paper Bitcoin games. And let's not forget, Coinbase is currently engaged in a war with Wall Street and the White House over the Clarity Act. And they also basically supposedly custody every ETF and Bitcoin treasury company in the entire industry. What does this mean for the 21 million hard cap? I know you guys are saying in the chat, I thought it was Binance that was suppressing Bitcoin's price. Maybe it's all of them suppressing Bitcoin's price at this point, but I'm not making this up. All right, guys, this was an SEC filing. So let me get to it. Let me get to the big news. Here we are. So Decrypt covered this, and here's their headline. Why GameStop put 315 million, I said 350, in Bitcoin into a covered call option strategy. GameStop has pledged nearly all of its Bitcoin to a covered call strategy on Coinbase Prime to generate some yield. The infamous I need yield on my Bitcoin is coming back, guys. So here we go. GameStop pledged 4,709 Bitcoin to a covered call strategy on Coinbase Prime, giving the exchange the right to rehypothecate or sell the coins. The move reclassifies the holding from an intangible asset to a receivable, changing how gains and losses flow through earnings. CEO Ryan Cohen has declined to rule out selling GameStop's Bitcoin, calling the company's other opportunities, quote, way more compelling. I couldn't make this up if I tried, guys. Like, I have the SEC filing, and I Command F'd it, and it literally says, hey, we're going to give Coinbase the right to rehypothecate our Bitcoin. Have we not been talking about this for a long time? We've been joking on the show that there might be more than 21 million Bitcoin, at least, on paper. And now we, without a doubt, know that this Opti making stuff up. and we know without a doubt that they're giving legal disclaimers that this is possible. So the reclassification matters because it'll change how Bitcoin gains and losses flow through GameStop's quarterly earnings. Bitcoin treasury companies have been relatively quiet since the start of the year. Of course, the prices dropped. The heightened volatility has put companies with Bitcoin on their balance sheet under strain. Originally, they spent more than $500 million buying its Bitcoin last May. And of course, they saw a decline. But they noted in its report that the terms of the collateral agreement mean that Coinbase Prime has the right to rehypothecate, commingle, or unilaterally sell the retailer's Bitcoin. That means GameStop didn't sell its Bitcoin, but it could be sold. So, in layman terms, GameStop still owns that Bitcoin, but as far as the legal disclaimer goes, Coinbase could also sell the Bitcoin that GameStop actually owns, aka more paper Bitcoin than actual Bitcoin on the blockchain, more than 21 million Bitcoin, quote unquote. Although the classification of these assets has changed, our economic exposure is consistent with direct ownership of the underlying Bitcoin. At least that's what the 10K SEC report, annual SEC report says. In a covered call strategy, an investor who holds an asset, in this case Bitcoin, sells a call option to a counterparty. The option gives the counterparty the right to buy the asset at a predetermined price called the strike price within a set time frame. In exchange, the holder receives a premium upfront, generating income on an asset that would otherwise just sit on the balance sheet. Are you guys hearing this? What could go wrong? Exactly. What could go wrong? Are you hearing what I'm hearing? It sounds like Coinbase again. And the only reason we're really talking about this, and I think this is why it is a news story, is because Coinbase is basically the main custody for every Bitcoin treasury and ETF. If they're doing this with GameStop, what are the implications for them doing it to every other company that custodies with Coinbase? That's like the big question. And further, we know that the Clarity Act, whether you like it or not, we know that Coinbase is the main obstacle for this to happen. Again, whether it's good or not for the industry, we know they're fighting this. They did last week come out and say, hey, we are fighting for de minimis tax exemption. And now with the GameStop SEC filing, we also kind of know that either they want to, they are, or at the very least, they have legal permission to rehypothecate some Bitcoin that is being custodied with them. This is just the first time we've heard this. Does that mean there's more than 21 million Bitcoin at this point? I know we've been joking about it on the show. Yeah, there's probably 42 million Bitcoin. That's why the price of Bitcoin is half of what it was. I don't know, guys. Coinbase is not our friend. I think that sums it up. Okay, but look, you're probably like, okay, Opti's making this up. Here is the SEC.gov filing. And you can see here, I Command F, rehypothecate. So you see that this is in the SEC filing. The credit risk exposure generally consists of the mark-to-market value, constituting unrealized gains under such transactions. To mitigate against the risk of this exposure, these agreements typically include a feature requiring the party that is out of the money, whether the company or the derivative counterparty, to pledge collateral for all or some portion of the MTM, mark-to-market, of outstanding derivatives. In certain circumstances, the pledge collateral may be contractually permitted to be rehypothecated, repledged, used, and or commingled to the counterparty. The ability to commingle or rehypothecate may obscure legal title to the underlying collateral, particularly in the case of pledged digital assets. Oh, sorry, I didn't pull it up. Now, we are being scammed like the gold ETF, dude, for reals. I do want to bring up, and I didn't bring up the tweet. The tweet. Do you remember a couple of months ago that we saw Michael Saylor and Caitlin Long both say there might be some rehypothecation in the system? We've been talking about paper Bitcoin for a while now. And as time progresses, we're starting to find out that there really is a lot more, quote, paper Bitcoin or rehypothecation than we imagine. Which is one of the things that we've always talked about here on the show. It's like, yes, we cheered on institutions coming into Bitcoin. We cheered on Wall Street embracing Bitcoin. And I'm guilty of it. I know I'm guilty of it. But I don't think we fully understood what the implications are. And now we're starting to see what is happening. It really does have a parallel with the gold ETF. There's more paper gold than the underlying physical commodity. Now, of course, Bitcoin isn't physical, but it seems like there's more paper Bitcoin than the digital commodity. And remember, we were talking about this all last year, paper Bitcoin summer. Well, it seems like it's eternal paper Bitcoin summer. It seems like we're going to see a lot more paper Bitcoin being created. The more that institutions come in, the more that the Wall Street, quote unquote, elites want to get into Bitcoin, we're going to see more claims on Bitcoin than the 21 million. We've been joking about this on the show for a while, that one day we're all going to wake up and realize, wait, the amount of paper Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin supposedly in people's treasuries is going to add up to more than 21 million. Does this mean that Bitcoin isn't hard capped at 21 million? No, not at all. We're just going to find out one day that there's going to be a huge bank run on Bitcoin, and all the people that thought they own Bitcoin are going to want to own real Bitcoin. Is that day coming soon? Probably not. I think these games will continue for a while until people realize that we're building another, I don't want to say Ponzi, but pyramid scheme, another fiat system on top of Bitcoin, where everyone thinks they own Bitcoin, but really they don't own Bitcoin, which is why we always talk about the reason you need to take your Bitcoin into custody. It's not enough to just get Bitcoin exposure. You need to take that Bitcoin off the exchange and control your own keys. You need to hold it in a wallet that you control, because if you don't, there might be a day where a bank run happens and you can't get your Bitcoin. Now, I don't know how is paper Bitcoin defeated. Good question. It's what I just said. Eventually, there is a bank run in the sense that everyone realizes, wait, there's more claims to Bitcoin than actual Bitcoin. And then everyone tries to get to the escape route. You know, everyone tries to get out the exit. And then what do we know? The price probably goes crazy because people are trying to just get their Bitcoin off exchanges. People are trying to sell the fake Bitcoin. It could also potentially crash it because of the, and crash, I mean by the price, because of the bad PR. But the way you beat paper Bitcoin is you take Bitcoin into custody. Yes, just keep stacking sats. This is the way. Where's your fake Bitcoin? All right. Anyways, so look, I'm not making this up, guys. It's not a nice revelation, to say the least. Now, my boy, you know, I've really been loving Fernando, aka Base Layer. Here's his take on this. And I think this is an interesting take because he has been talking about how narratives have been shifting. Remember, I talked about what he's been posting and what it meant to me on Friday. Here's his take. And I think this is an interesting take in regards to what we're finding out as time continues to progress. He goes, to see a video game retailer writing options on Bitcoin is kind of strange and interesting. Time to recognize that for more players, Bitcoin has stopped being a thing you buy and hold and instead starts being a thing you build financial products on top of. Maybe the store of value use case gets diminished as more companies like GameStop stop holding Bitcoin like a saving account. They're using it as the base layer for an income strategy, which is a fundamentally different relationship with the asset. And I'm sure more entities will explore this. So it sounds like this is going to continue to go on. If this is profitable for GameStop, you better believe other companies are going to look at this and be like, well, maybe I want to do this more. So as I said, it's going to be paper Bitcoin eternal September. I think this is only going to continue until we finally see someone really big blow up. Until people realize IOUs to Bitcoin is not real Bitcoin, and they avoid the convenience to actually hold their Bitcoin, this might go on for a little while. Hence why the price action has been weird. Hence why a lot of us are unsure about what's going on. Because we're like, yo, the cycles are kind of intact, but also not. Why aren't we going as high as we used to go? I know we cheered on institutions and Wall Street to come in here, but it's just not. All our models are broken. It's not working, you know, quote unquote. Wait, quote unquote. Bitcoin isn't working how we thought it was. Maybe we found the smoking gun. Maybe it's just the amount of Bitcoin IOUs, paper Bitcoin in the system that is suppressing the Bitcoin price. Now, you're probably like, Opti, actually, I saw Down Under Blues say it earlier. He's like, I thought it was Binance suppressing the price. Well, why not all of them? They want cheap Bitcoin. They're probably doing some, you know, out of contract obligations or deals where they're making money whether the price is down or not. We all know Coinbase is one of the biggest crypto casinos in the world. They don't really seem to care about Bitcoin. I know they're saying we do care about Bitcoin, but I don't like to really say that people in our industry are necessarily our enemies here. And I know if Coinbase saw this, they're going to be like, I don't like these Simply Bitcoin guys. But the more news we hear from Coinbase coming out this year, the more it seems very obvious that they are not the biggest fans of Bitcoin. And it's probably just their business model. I'm tired, boss. I'm tired, boss. Yeah. Who is manipulating us? Oh, okay. Sorry. I drank some coffee before. All right. Thank you, Just Us. I apologize. So, where do we stand on this? Obviously, as we've known for a long time, I think even Hal Finney said this, a week after Bitcoin was created, we know that there was going to be fully backed banks in Bitcoin and those that rehypothecate. And now we're getting to the point where, as much as we all love the 21 million hard cap, and we know that that's never going to change, we are seeing institutions try to do fiat games on Bitcoin. And the only way to protect yourself is by taking Bitcoin into custody, personal custody. It's not enough to just get exposure to Bitcoin. At this point, we probably shouldn't be using any of these exchanges that are suspect. We shouldn't even be giving money to these equity stocks. You know, I know we all want some fiat gains, but we cannot support this, I guess, is all I'm saying. How does astrology and the moon phase play? Dude, don't troll me, bro. Option contracts, paper Bitcoin expires, on-chain Bitcoin never expires. Exactly. Couldn't say better myself, bro. If any of these exchanges are sketchy with paper Bitcoin, then that's someone or an entity above them enabling them to do so. Yeah, and that is the scariest part. That is, as I was saying on Friday, you know, media literacy. When you read these news stories, what Down Under Blues is saying, I think hits a nail on the head. It's not so much as just pointing at Coinbase as being the big boogeyman. It's really more of, oh, this is the trend that is happening. Who else is doing this? Which is why we keep joking about the fact that there might be 42 million Bitcoin and not 21 million Bitcoin. Again, that doesn't really break the scarcity of Bitcoin. It just means that more people think they own Bitcoin than actually owning Bitcoin. And could that explain the fact that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of liquidity, there's not a lot of on-chain on-chain demand for Bitcoin because there's more supply than actual Bitcoin? This is what we kind of walked into. I think a lot of the stuff that we've seen in Bitcoin for a long time is we cheer something on, we want something to happen, and then we totally forget the consequences, the unseen consequences, the second order effects of what we are cheering on. And I'm guilty of this as much as anyone. You guys know I was very, very okay with the Trump administration embracing Bitcoin, the ETF being launched, because I felt like they were going to pump our bags. Excuse me. And now we're like, wait, maybe we're cheering on our own demise. I can't be the only one that's thinking this. Simply peptide ads coming. No, bro. We're all natural here, dude. We're all natural. Oh, man. I don't know. Am I crazy? It feels like some, bro. Okay. Is this too, am I reaching here? I think it's a real question. They literally said, we are going to let Coinbase rehypothecate our Bitcoin. So more people are probably doing this. Oh no, look, Down Under Blues. I really do like checkmatey. And I'm kind of a checkmatey acolyte. You know, I love Luke, my Australian brother, and him and checkmatey, maybe, you know, two Australians. That's probably why they beef. But from the on-chain metrics that he posted, I agree with you. There's just been a lot of selling. There's been a lot of selling. And I think you can circle that square by saying, look, there's been a lot of selling, but there's also seems to be some paper contractual obligations on all the Bitcoin out there, and we really don't know what they're doing. We don't know what games are being played. And the only way that you can protect yourself is by taking Bitcoin into custody. I think that's the only way to protect yourself. And yes, a paper collapse would be a gift for cheap sats and the hopeful collapse. Yes. I mean, it could make the price go crazy if everyone's trying to get the exit door. Yeah, the PR would be bad. And a lot of people might sell it on the assumption that Bitcoin's broken. But if there's 42 million claims on 21 million Bitcoin, sounds like the price is going to double very quickly. I don't know. This is the 42 IQ take of me here. Just take it into custody is the way. That's all we can really do, guys. It's not that difficult. I know when we look at all of this stuff, and actually, shouts out to Down Under Blues because he, was yelling at me on Friday, and he's like, you guys have been so negative lately. We have a lot of good news, but I think we're all a little demoralized, and maybe that's seeped into the show. Also, maybe a little bit of audience capture. I'm like, are people bearish right now? How can I get them to watch the video? And then we, sneak in the absolutely bullish about Bitcoin throughout the whole show. But I think this is just starting, which is the worst part about this. I don't think this is an isolated event. I think this is going to continue on for the foreseeable future unless everyone takes their Bitcoin off exchanges, or further, retail doesn't want the ETFs and doesn't use the companies that are custodying with Coinbase. I think we're in this for the long run, as I've been saying for a long time. Next topic off the... Okay, all right. I have a good clip for you guys. We'll keep it going. We'll keep it moving. It is Monday. Excuse me. Did you guys see Larry Fink admit that woke is dead? I got the clip for you. And then we do have some pretty big news about the Morgan Stanley ETF and kind of what a game changer that is. So that's today's show. And then also I'm going to end the show with a little bit of bullishness, okay? Full disclosure, we're going to get a little bullish. We're seeing some parallels to the past. What does this mean? I also saw people say that we're going to dump. The next leg is coming, but we're going to get bullish today. All right, next topic, we're going to go into the numbers.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
All right, guys. Sorry, I saw something in the chat. I'm gonna try to find that, and we'll talk about it. But anyways, the current Bitcoin price is 67,140. It is a 46.8% discount from all-time high. The current market cap is 1.34 trillion, and the block height is 942,953. Okay, so dude, market cap's cooked. Anyways, we talked about this, I don't know, months ago. And at the time when we talked about, excuse me, the fact that BlackRock was moving away from ESG, we were mentioning it's over because BlackRock, you know, the biggest asset manager in the world, basically said it's over. They've been pushing a lot of these narratives. And now over the weekend, we got a clip from Larry Fink literally saying that exact thing, though he was very political about it. But he basically admitted that the pendulum swung too hard one way, and now it's swinging the other way, which we've been telling you for a while. This is part of what we do here, that, hey, the world isn't how it used to be, and things are changing, because if you follow the money, you can see very clearly that the experiment of the 2010s into the 2020s, early 2020s, is completely over, because they realize they can't make any money off of it anymore, at least anymore. And this is what that clip says. So let's watch Larry Fink here admit what we all know to be true.
Do you believe the woke era a failed experiment? The ESG, the DEI, the kind of push for that. When you talk about things now, you talk in a practical sense, what we can do, what we can get done. Looking back at that, how do you see it?
Society moves, the pendulum moves all the time. In BlackRock's cases, we are responsible for managing money for everybody. And even today, as you said, maybe these, renewables are less talked about it. I can tell you right now, we have many investors worldwide are investing in renewables, trying to emphasize solar and other things like that. We're working with Occidental Petroleum right now to building the best carbon capture factories in Texas right now. So do I believe the pendulum 5 years ago was too far? Yes.
You do?
I believe we're more I'm personally more pragmatic too. And I believe...
But do you think BlackRock pushed some companies a little bit further left than you thought?
It was never our intention, because our job is to be... I got to be a fiduciary to everybody who gives us money. Our responsibility, Brett, is to making sure if one of our investors wants to invest 100% in hydrocarbons in Texas, I'm investing 100% of the money in Texas. But if another state fund wants us to invest in, let's say, all green energy, we're going to do that. It's their money. But today, because of AI and the overwhelming need for power and electricity, it can't just be one way right now. It can't just be hydrocarbons. So if you see what China is doing right now, China is rapidly building more nuclear than any other country in the world. They have the largest solar fields in the world, yet they're the biggest importer of gas and oil. And so to me, more importantly today, I think society has moved into a better position of having more pragmatism. And what you're hearing from me is I'm echoing what we're hearing from our clients.
Guys, we have officially lived through the multi-trillion-dollar PSYOP. Congratulations. If you made it this far, you did it. We made it. I think it's becoming very obvious that now money is not backing a lot of the things that we probably don't like. And I think it, one, because of BlackRock admitting this much, but further because of the political tide right now. I know, we're not all the biggest fans of the Trump family or Trump himself, but you can see that the political sentiment has fundamentally shifted. Now, is this all, I don't want to say necessarily controlled opposition, but you can see that what they tried to push on us for the last, I don't know, since I guess 2008 till now, it's been almost 20 years, it's fundamentally not profitable anymore. They realize, hey, at this point, we can't keep doing that because you don't agree with it. I don't think this is the final stamp of it being officially over, but we're starting to see it started last year. We saw BlackRock essentially and the, money backing the ESG stuff. Now he's out on Fox News basically saying the same thing, like the pendulum swinging the other way. And we've been covering this on the show for a long time. It's just very interesting that when the big money starts to say it, it takes a, downstream effect for other people to finally realize that things have changed. But we're here to show you, like, they're saying it themselves. Someone said this was a good one. The BitConnect meme here. The world is not anymore the way it used to be. We've officially crossed the Rubicon. It's no longer, we're no longer in the same era that we were in the early 2020s. It's becoming very clear that things are changing. Whether that's going to be necessarily in the right direction is probably up for debate, but we know that the pendulum to the left, the pendulum to ESG, DEI, all the stuff, the woke era, it's officially going the other way. Now, again, talking about media literacy, it's like, well, why is that happening? Well, obviously, I don't think the normal person, the average person, thinks of that as being healthy. Let me put it that way. And now we're moving in the other way. So you can see that they are going to try to guide the conversation into, the pendulum swinging the other way, which probably comes with its own cons, and there might be some pros out of it. But I think it's official. What? March 30th, 2026. This was, let me see the date. This was actually on Friday. So March 28th, 2026. Larry Fink officially puts the stamp on woke being dead. That's where we are. Okay. What does this mean for all of us? I really don't know yet. But I do know that a lot of the things that we don't like are probably not going to get funded like they did in the past. Hopefully some good comes out of this. Fiat brain, not indeed. Okay, anyways, let's get into the news. I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Ledin lets you unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without ever having to sell it. Since 2018, they've issued over $10 billion in loans to more than 10,000 customers worldwide. I love these guys, and not only do I have an account with them, I also have a loan. And here's what really sets them apart. There are no monthly payments, and you can pay back the loan at any time. Once you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you can have cash in your account within 24 hours. Ledin has over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or single sat of customer funds. So if you want to tap into the wealth of your Bitcoin without having to sell it, head over to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
All right, guys. I will talk about the ETF, but I saw someone in the chat say, let me see if I can find it, said that Senator Lummis confirms that the Clarity Act is finished. Let me see. I can't find the comment. Oh, here we go. Lummis tweets, Clarity Act is finished. Price will go higher regardless of the options contract on the order line. So I was looking on Twitter as the break was happening, and I couldn't find that, but I did find this video. So let's play this video together. I'm literally watching it as we, do this together. We're watching it together. So I don't actually have this uploaded yet. So let me know if you hear this.
The Genius
and we'll watch
Act,
it together.
the stablecoin bill, this week. I don't think we're going to complete it this week. We'll probably have to go into next week because a number of amendments will be filed. But we have worked long and hard to bring Democrats to the place where they can vote for cloture. I think we're there.
So what are the remaining hurdles for Democrats? What have they told you that their concerns are? What's keeping them from getting on board completely?
Well, we have generally agreed to many of the amendments they wanted. There were concerns about illicit finance. We've addressed some of those. And we're just waiting to see what amendments are filed by both parties as we move the bill to full consideration on the floor of the Senate. On the Genius Act.
Okay, so you saw that. This happened. This was on Bloomberg about an hour ago. So breaking news update. It looks like it's no longer a conversation of months. It's really a conversation of this might happen in days, next week. So maybe next week we find out that the Clarity Act is passed. Beginning of April, like what Senator Tim Scott, I think his name, Tim Scott, has been saying. Kind of a plot twist, to be honest. I'm really surprised that this is where we are. So, all right, that's on the Clarity Act. I really wasn't going to cover it, but I saw someone in the chat mention it. So, live breaking news. Anyways, this is what I really thought was interesting over the weekend. As I was mentioning, whoa, this is interesting. What's going on here? That's new. I don't know what's going on, guys. There we go. Okay. So, as I mentioned last week, I kind of glossed over it a little bit. But we saw Morgan Stanley, one of the biggest banks in the world, announce that they are going to do a Bitcoin ETF. And this is part of the trend of every huge Wall Street institution wanting to build Bitcoin products. Obviously, BlackRock started this trend with the IBIT. And now what we're seeing is the competition to be the leader, which I think Morgan Stanley probably has an uphill battle to try to knock off BlackRock. But they made a very interesting move. And it is, we finally got the announcement of how cheap their fees are going to be. Here's Bitcoin Magazine goes, Morgan Stanley Spot Bitcoin ETF will charge the cheapest fees on the market, even cheaper than BlackRock's ETF. And here is the screenshot. The trust will pay the unitary delegated sponsor fee, which is accrued daily at an annualized rate of 0.14% of the net asset value of the trust. 0.14%. Here is the block covering it. Morgan Stanley set spot Bitcoin ETF fee at 0.14%, undercutting every rival on the market. Just looking at the quick take, Morgan Stanley revealed a 0.14% annualized sponsor fee for its proposed spot Bitcoin ETF in an S1 filing, which would make it the cheapest such product in the U.S. if approved. The fee undercuts Grayscale's Bitcoin Mini Trust, currently the low-cost leader at 0.15%, and sits 11 basis points below BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust at 0.25%. Bloomberg ETF analyst James Seifert wow, called the pricing a big move and predicted a launch in early April. Here is Eric Balkunis's take, and he goes, semi-shock, Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin ETF will charge 14 bips, making it the cheapest spot Bitcoin ETF on the market and 11 bips cheaper than IBIT. This means none of their advisors will feel conflicted using it, and they have a shot at getting outside assets. Smart launch probably in next 2 weeks. Nice catch on the falling from Marty Party, which is what he's quote tweeting. And here is James's tweet. Wow, we have the fee on Morgan Stanley spot Bitcoin ETF. MSBT will charge just 0.14%. Big move here. They are not messing around. Likely to launch in early April. Now, I know I'm not the biggest ETF fan. We're huge self-custody advocates. But this just goes to show that the interest coming from Wall Street, from the institutions, whether you love it or hate it, it is serious. We've got to the point where they're literally undercutting themselves to get to market with a better Bitcoin product. Now, what does this mean for all of us? Hopefully, at least this has been the hope for all of us when we were cheering on institutions, is that more capital flows in. If they can deliver a product, and again, I don't recommend these products, but if they can deliver a product that is very beneficial with, the best incentives for people to deploy capital, especially as people start to understand that Bitcoin is something you need to hold for the long term. It is something that needs to be a part of your portfolio. Remember, I talked about it last week, that it's no longer a conversation of, do I own Bitcoin or do I not own Bitcoin? The conversation has evolved to, how much Bitcoin do I add to my portfolio? That is a fundamental shift. And now literally every huge bank in the world wants a Bitcoin product. It's absolutely insane. I know we talk about the separation of Bitcoin and state. I know we talk about the, separation of Bitcoin and fiat. But the Trojan horse effect of Bitcoin is totally happening right now, where everyone, maybe it's silently because the majority of people still don't think of Bitcoin in the way that we do. But every big institution, every big money manager, bank, hedge fund, they all want a little bit of the Bitcoin pie. They're all trying to deploy Bitcoin products. If this is not a sign of the times that Bitcoin is going into the quote, early majority phase, I don't know what is. This is why I think this is interesting. It's not so much that, okay, we got another ETF, they have low fees. No, it's Morgan Stanley that is trying to undercut a competitor with a better Bitcoin product. This is the conversation that we always talk about in Bitcoin, that as Bitcoin is the free market, when products come out, whether they're good or bad, this is all beneficial for us. I don't recommend buying the ETFs, but it does have this like deflationary effect, if I'm using that correctly, where everything just gets cheaper when you're on the Bitcoin standard. Again, I wouldn't use these products, but it just goes to show that they are competing. It's like the race to zero. They just want Bitcoin products and they want to attract more people to buy it from them, which is obviously not the best idea. But they all need Bitcoin products. I think that's the big takeaway. They need Bitcoin products. It's no longer enough to just be like, yeah, if our customers want it. Remember the Vanguard CEO that got fired, or he stepped away? It's like, no, we're never going to give our customers Bitcoin products. And then he left. And then the new CEO was literally the guy that launched the BlackRock ETF. Sorry. That's where we are. Every institution needs a Bitcoin product. this year might get interesting in just the pure fact that everyone is going to look at Bitcoin a little more seriously. Does that mean the price is going to go crazy? I don't think so. But the conversations around Bitcoin being a real thing to own is totally changed. To me, that's the most interesting thing going on. I'm betting we dump on Clarity Act passing. Probably true, dude. Totally true. All right. Anyways, you guys want to get a little bullish. Today's show might be a little shorter than usual. So I'm going to keep it moving. We're going to go into the culture and have a little fun.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com.
All right, guys. It's the culture. It's Monday. I'm a little cooked, but we're here nonetheless, okay? We're here nonetheless. We got some news. It looks like the Bitcoin price is being suppressed. It looks like we might get the Clarity Act. It looks like Wall Street wants to launch Bitcoin products. Dare I say, this time is different? No, I can't say that because hold on. Let me look at the price. Actually, dude, wait, hold on. Can I share a meme with you guys? Am I allowed to share a meme? I know you guys yell at me and say that I can't have any fun here. I got to be super serious, but shouts out to Harry Garcia on Twitter. I thought this was so funny. Hold on. To me, this is so good. Classic meme here. Hey, dude, we're doing a meme Monday? Meme Monday culture? Maybe. So we got the Drake meme and it goes, YouTube TA content? Nah. Opti on the 1 minute chart? Yeah. Oh, dude, I was dying when I saw this. Shouts out to you, Harry Garcia. I truly, truly appreciate this. I thought this was so funny. It's a dumb meme, but you know, it really amazes me that me trolling with the 1 minute chart is like a bit now. And now everyone knows you got to look at the 1 minute chart. And it's like my thing now. I'm not the one that created watching the 1 minute. I just love that you guys are like, Opti, put on the 1 minute chart. Can we do the 1 minute chart? I don't know about today. Maybe if you're lucky. We'll do the 1 minute chart later. But anyways, I saw this good tweet. Shouts out to Joe Consorti. I don't know. I got a little bullish when I saw this. Okay. So here's the tweet. And Joe goes, Bitcoin is at the same price that it was 4.5 years ago, the fourth longest period in history. The median 18-month forward return from this point is 214%. Every time Bitcoin has gone flat for 3+ years, what felt like wasted time turned out to be a launch pad. And here we are. Excuse me. So it could go on a little longer. You know, this bear market could go on a little longer. But as you can see, the upside, as we all know, this is really more for, you know, the newer people in the chat. You know, the newer people that hang out with us. If you've been in Bitcoin for a long time, you know that Bitcoin's going to go up. But what has been super interesting is that in this current bear market, it seems like there's a new, I don't know, entrant into Bitcoin, you know, a new investor in Bitcoin, and they're looking at this thing. And I don't know if you've gotten the text messages or the calls from your friend, but they're doing the, hey, bro, should I still be holding this thing? And we're just like, yes, of course. Dude, what are you doing? If you own it, keep buying more. You're good to go. But how about them numbers? What's a 214% increase from 60K? or 60, where are we at? 66K? Is that into 180s? 66, 120. Yeah, I think. My math is probably wrong today, but how about them apples, guys? Shouts to the Joe Consorti. Are we not feeling bullish right now? Is this not bullish? Down under blue. 1 minute charts are for fun because it is. Yes, exactly. That's the point. All right, we'll do 1 minute chart. All right, you guys want to have some fun. I'm alone here. We're having fun. We're gonna have some fun. Is this up? No. Wrong one. Guys, look at this. The 1 minute chart's so bullish. Okay, so look, we'll zoom out. We'll zoom out. We'll do 12 months. Not looking good so far. Dude, are we gonna end the year red too? Dude, 4-year cycle broken. 2 green, 1 red. It's over, boys. Let's do 1 month. Oh, brutal. We're back to the 200-day moving average. Could go lower. Could go lower. We're getting cooked, boys. The 1 day is I'm out in bid step. It's okay. My trend line got demolished. But let's go into the 1 minute chart. Cause that looks so bullish. Dude, it's gonna pump. Omega candle coming. More bullish tweets, please. All right, let me see. Can I pull? Do I have any more bullish tweets? No, but I do have a good tweet here, which is an interesting. All right, it's not really that bullish, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. I saw this tweet, which is interesting too. So Bitcoin has followed the same pattern since the conflict began in the Middle East. Black Monday fears never play out from the previous weekend, leading to a Monday bounce. Then profit taking throughout the week as Strait of Hormuz doesn't open, then de-risking going into the weekend, rinse and repeat. I thought this was interesting, obviously before the market opened, because I don't think it really played out. Yeah, I guess it kind of played out the same way. So Monday morning market opens, and then we're just going to kind of drain out until next Monday. So I guess that's not that bullish, bro. I see a cup and handle, bro. On the 1 minute. You're crazy. Wait, hold on. Ricardo, on what? What time frame? The 1 minute cup and handle? You're insane. That is next level. All right. Anyways, guys, I'm going to keep it going for a little bit, but that's what I got for you today. It is a slow Monday, but I wanted to, get you a show up, keep you informed. Our ADD does not allow for a 2 minute chart. No, it doesn't. Really, Matthew? Let me see if I can find that. I guess we'll cover one more thing if I can find this. Matthew says in the chat, Powell said Bitcoin will be lower for longer. Honestly, that's kind of bullish. I kind of feel like that means Bitcoin's going to pump. I can't find that, bro. I can't. Yeah, I can't find that. All right. Anyways, the lower the fees, the greater the rehab. Dude, truly, bro. That's a great point. Boys, we're so cooked. Boys and girls, we're so cooked. There's more than 21 million Bitcoin. You better be taking your Bitcoin in the cut. If there you take away anything from today's show, it's this. The importance of custodying your Bitcoin is at the top of, or should be at the top of everyone's list. Look, your boomer uncles and parents, they're not going to listen to you because you're, a radical. You're extremist. You are insane. You're crazy. Maybe you're just stupid. I don't know. But taking your Bitcoin into custody is the most important thing to be doing, period. End of story. Full stop. That's the best thing to be doing. Actually, it's the only thing to be doing. We can't stop other people from buying these products, but what we can do is, one, take our Bitcoin into custody, and two, just make sure more people realize that Bitcoin is the thing to be investing in. So here we are, bro. Here we are, bros. Let me see down under blues. In 2021, Bitcoin had 7 up months to get to all-time high. Way overbought. 2026, 6 down months in a row. Way oversold. Both prices are the same. Damn. Truth. Truke in the chat. All right. Anyways, guys, Ricardo, thank you. Don't thank me. Thank you, man. All right. They're extremists for believing the mainstream media. You know, it's thank you guys for showing up, hanging out with me. We're covering the news together, okay? I really wish I could have been like, there's no show today because there's nothing going on. But the Coinbase story, I think, is kind of really interesting. Bro, Coinbase is our op, fam. For the Gen Zers out there. Coinbase is our op, fam. All right. Anyways, I'm rambling. I need to take a nap. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. I need to get some food. I drink a little too much coffee, which means I'm not going to be able to take a nap, but it's Monday, which means the rest of the week, same as every week. We go live around 12:40. Make sure you're eating good. Make sure you're working out. Make sure you get your steps. Make sure you get some sun. Call your loved ones. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, bros. I will see you on the flip side.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.